All right, let's jump straight into this explainer and uncover the invisible forces that are, quite frankly, secretly destroying the heating and cooling systems in shoreline homes. Look, if you live in this area, you probably already know the deal. Your comfort systems seem to work way harder and break down a lot more often than they really should, right? Well, today we're going to dig into exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how you can finally take control of it.
So here is our game plan for today. We've got 5 main areas to cover. 1. The Shoreline Climate Challenge. 2. Common homeowner HVAC problems. 3. Repair or replace. 4. Smart rules for your HVAC. And 5. The professional service process. We've basically structured this explainer as your ultimate coastal homeowner survival guide. We'll move fast from the actual environmental science of your neighborhood straight into highly actionable money-saving rules.
Okay, moving right along to Section 1, the Shoreline Climate Challenge. Let's start off by looking at the totally unique geographic factors of the Pacific Northwest, factors that literally turn your home's microclimate into a constant everyday battleground.
So you might be wondering, why do HVAC systems fail so much faster around here? It's a great question. And the answer, it lies in the invisible, relentless attacks from the local environment right onto your equipment. You see, Shoreline sits perfectly sandwiched between Puget Sound and Lake Washington, and that creates a highly specific marine microclimate. It's actually not just about the rain, it's really about what that constant damp marine air does to metal, to your electrical components, and even the very ground your home sits on.
Think about it. Our specific neighborhoods directly dictate the kind of mechanical stress your system faces every single day. If you're over near the lake in Ballinger, you're fighting marine moisture that loves to create condensation and mold right in your ductwork. Over in Ridgecrest, well, you're dealing with clay-heavy soil. That stuff traps moisture and leads to incredibly damp basements and crawl spaces. And if you happen to live in Richmond Beach or Innis Arden, you've got that salt air rolling right off Puget Sound, actively eating away at the aluminum fins and copper lines of your outdoor condenser. I mean, it's a hyper-local battle.
Section 2. Common homeowner HVAC problems. So what exactly happens when those severe environmental stresses combine with older home construction? Well, let's take a look at the very real symptoms this causes inside your house.
A lot of shoreline homes, specifically in places like Parkwood and Hillwood, were built back in the 1950s and 60s, and their original ductwork? It's basically the size of a drinking straw. When you hook up a powerful, modern, high-efficiency blower to those tiny, restrictive 1950s ducts, the whole system just chokes. It creates massive static pressure, which forces your equipment to work insane overtime just to push a little bit of air into your living room.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that these are not random breakdowns. They are incredibly predictable symptoms of moisture, salt, and restricted airflow forcing your system to work way too hard. Make sense? If your AC is leaking water, it's highly likely the system is just totally overwhelmed by marine humidity, and the condensate drain is backed up. If your outdoor condenser looks heavily corroded, yep, that's the salt air taking its toll. And if your system is turning on and off constantly, something we call short cycling, it's literally crying out for help because it can't breathe through those old ducts.
All right, Section 3. Repair or replace. Knowing all these specific regional challenges, how do you actually make a smart financial decision when your system eventually breaks down? Because let's face it, it will happen, and you need to be prepared.
Let's introduce a really crucial mathematical anchor to help you decide whether to fix your old unit or just go ahead and buy a new one. It's called the $5,000 rule. Seriously, this is one of the most practical tools you can have in your homeowner toolkit to avoid throwing good money after bad.
It's just simple multiplication. You take the age of your system in years, and you multiply it by the estimated cost of the repair. So, let's say you have a 12-year-old system and your technician hands you a quote for a $500 repair. 12 times 500 hits $6,000. And because $6,000 is greater than $5,000, this little calculation is clearly signaling that a full replacement makes way more financial sense than just throwing money at failing equipment.
Now, when you do decide to replace your unit, understanding terms like SEER ratings will make sure you choose high-efficiency equipment that actually meets Washington's strict energy standards. SEER stands for Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio. Think of it kind of like miles per gallon for your car, but for cooling your house. A higher SEER rating just means it uses less electricity to do the exact same amount of cooling. And with Washington really pushing for higher energy efficiency and electrification right now, knowing your SEER rating is absolutely essential for keeping those monthly utility bills in check.
Moving right into Section 4, Smart Rules for your HVAC. Before you ever even have to pick up the phone to call a professional or start doing math on replacement costs, there are some clever, highly practical rules of thumb you can use to protect your home and just stay comfortable.
Actually, to truly understand cooling, we need to go entirely off the grid for a second. We really need to look at how the Amish beat the summer heat without touching a thermostat or using any electricity whatsoever. By adopting passive, electricity-free strategies, you can naturally flush heat right out of your shoreline home and significantly reduce your reliance on air conditioning during our mild Pacific Northwest summers. Look at what the Amish do. They use cross-ventilation strategically, just opening specific windows to catch the breeze. They use whole house fans to push all that hot air out of the attic at night. They even plant deciduous trees on the south side of their homes. Why? To block the harsh summer sun, but still let the winter sun shine through when the leaves fall off. You can do the exact same thing to give your AC a massive break.
But hey, when you do eventually need to turn on your AC during a heat wave, you absolutely must remember another golden number, and that number is 3.
We call this the 3-minute rule. If you turn your AC off, or even if the power just flickers for a second, always wait at least 3 minutes before restarting it. Why? Well, this simple delay allows the highly pressurized refrigerant inside the system to fully equalize between the high and low sides. If you force it to restart immediately, the compressor has to literally push against a massive wall of pressure. That causes immense motor strain and can lead to a catastrophic, incredibly expensive compressor failure. So do yourself a favor, protect your system, and just wait the 3 minutes.
Section 5. The professional service process. When those passive tricks and the 3-minute rule just aren't cutting it anymore, it is time to bring in the pros. But listen, not just any pros. You need technicians who truly understand these highly specific local climate quirks we've been talking about. According to our source material, reputable professionals like Peak HVAC Seattle, they won't just guess your system size based on a quick glance at your house. No way. They use a strict engineering approach called a manual J-load calculation to ensure perfect sizing. This factors in everything: your exact square footage, your home's orientation to the sun, your window sizes, and your insulation levels. Because relying on outdated rules of thumb, that just leads to mismatched, oversized equipment that short cycles, completely fails to dehumidify your home, and dies years before it should.
True professionals also adhere strictly to the absolute highest codes and standards. We're talking EPA Section 608 certifications, which are legally required for handling and recovering older refrigerants like R22 without harming the environment. And critically, they also conduct combustion safety and draft pressure tests. In newer, tightly sealed homes, if your furnace doesn't have enough makeup air, it can actually backdraft dangerous carbon monoxide straight into your living space. This is exactly why strict adherence to Washington state codes and pulling the proper local permits is absolutely non-negotiable for your family's safety.
Our source outlines a really straightforward 3-step process that true professionals use to diagnose root causes without hitting you with surprise charges. First, scheduling happens in tight 2-hour windows so you aren't stuck waiting around all day. Second, they diagnose using the proper tools to find the actual root cause, not just treating the symptom, and they give you the price up front before even touching a wrench. And finally, they fix it, test it rigorously under normal operating conditions, and follow up to ensure everything is absolutely perfect. No surprises, just structured, solid solutions.
I want you to take a second and just look around your home right now. Are you feeling random drafts? Is your AC short cycling? Is your basement unusually damp? You now know these aren't just quirky features of an old house. They are the invisible forces of your local microclimate actively draining your wallet. So the big question is, now that you finally know who the hidden enemies are, what are you going to do to take permanent control of your comfort? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.